to me personally, it can be defined by two words, and that would be togetherness and legacy.
Celebrating home.
Love.
Potential.
Community spirit.
Gratitude.
So I would use the Swahili word to say umoja. Umoja means unity. Yeah.
To me, Africa Day means a day of celebrating Africa's unique diversity in culture, as well as committing to the solidarity between each other as Africans.
It's an opportunity to bring light to
Reflect on how far we've come given the complex nature of our history.
As Africans, I think oftentimes we overlook our own history and our own significance in the world because we think that we have so many issues and so many struggles, which I'm not saying isn't true, but I feel that Africa Day is a time where we can just come together and really celebrate what makes us African, our achievements, our rich history, whether it be verbal or written, but I think that's what really makes Africa Day for me.
We are a diverse continent, all the way from Egypt to South Africa, from West Africa to East Africa, and therefore it's a day to come together and celebrate our different cultures, heritages, and what makes us special as an African continent.
Personally, how I celebrate Africa Day is I have conversations with my parents about our culture, about our origins, about where I come from.
En classe, nous célébrons avec nos élèves, on étudie la littérature, les arts, des auteurs africains et nous exploitons la richesse de cette littérature.
Being mindful of the fact that we are a free generation and being mindful to embrace that on a daily basis, and to honor that on a daily basis, especially as a young Black woman. Being mindful of what does freedom mean to me? How do I practice that on a daily basis?
I've used the month of May to read up on African history, to make sure I read African authors, to speak about what I've learned and read with my family and friends.
To show grace, to show gratitude as well for those who've come before us, who've made it easier for us to understand our continent a little bit better and therefore love it even more than what we do at the moment.
Kumuti kwatu kumalawi particularly, timavala zovola zachikalidwe chatu, kumanso kumakala madyelelo opambana.
So as an African, I celebrate Africa every day. I don't have a specific day to celebrate it because I live it. So it's who I am, I'm African, and therefore it's what I live day by day, yeah.
Particularly timapuzila ndi kukumbukila chikalidwe, komanso kutokoza pa zomwe tili nazo.
For me personally, it would have to be Ubuntu, togetherness, unity, because truly I believe that is what describes what being an African is.
You could be anywhere in the world, but when you see an African, there's almost something that connects you with them, despite where you are.
I cherish that sisterhood and brotherhood that I don't see anywhere else in the other continents where I've traveled.
Without anyone else, we do not exist. And I know, there's a Western idea around that you think, therefore you are, but in African culture we say umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, so you are because we are, right? That's the idea that we follow.
Le fait qu'en Afrique, les storytelling, comme on raconte les histoires, qui aident à connecter les générations.
Again, being a typical history teacher, it is about telling those stories, and we need to pass on that legacy to the younger generation. And in that way, you are fostering a sense of pride. In that way, you're fostering a sense of belonging as well. To know that, again, people who've come before me have done so much, and so there's really not much else to do but to appreciate.
So I thought long and hard. This one, there's so many different things that we could say, but there's two main ones that I've come out with. I think it's climate change and the continued exploitation of African resources to the detriment of African people.
Sure, quite a lot of things, right? I think ranging from poverty, healthcare, unequal access to education, as well as corruption.
Some countries like Rwanda are bringing up a lot of change, and those are examples that we can look at. But the rest of Africa needs to learn and know that the future of their children is actually messed up because of the corruption that's going on.
Africa Day gives us a chance to discuss Africa in more depth, and we can use that day to have critical conversations about climate change, about the exploitation, about how we can turn things around, and how we can highlight what's possible.
I definitely think one of the biggest issues we as Africa face today is actually just not being together, not trusting each other. As you can see, people don't trust politicians, they don't trust each other to do a job correctly, we don't trust our friends to keep our secrets. So definitely in Africa Day, we can help rectify this by learning to come together, learning to trust and love each other, so we can actually grow and be a working society.
I imagine that Africa Day can help us by fostering a greater sense of community among Africans that will help unite us and fight common problems and come up with common, helpful solutions.
I hope that Africa will be a leading example of where one would wish to live. It will be actually a continent of choice, because we have so much resources, we have so much talent, we have a lot we can offer.
The greatest and deepest faith and hope for Africa. The theme for Africa Day this year is education. And I'm going to sound cheesy, but really it is education that will help move us forward.
So that vision kind of looks like young people taking charge, being unapologetic about it, young people engaging in an education system that is going to look after problem solving and not just learning theory for the sake of it, because that's what we're going to need. That vision includes entrepreneurs who are going to solve problems, right, for African people, by African people.
And when we say education, it's not only about the future, it's about what happened in the past, it's about what we can do, it's about innovation, and those are the things that will help Africa become a place where Africans can thrive. So if I dream, it is an Africa with leaders who uphold our values.
I think that a lot of people sometimes miss the idea that if there is a lack or there is a deficiency in something, it's an opportunity in and of itself. So I think that if we start changing our attitude, what this vision looks like in the next couple of years is one that the whole world would want to get involved in, actually.
On Africa Day, my mother and father took me to Zimbabwe, and we spent the day walking around, seeing celebrations and different songs and dances, and it just made me proud to be African, and it made me see the diversity and beauty of our culture and our arts. I believe that communities can help on Africa Day by holding celebrations in the form of dances and songs, as well as just starting drives to help less fortunate people in Africa. And I believe that schools can serve as the perfect place to do this by encouraging charity events that can help those less fortunate.
Well, for me personally, it's definitely having conversations with people, trying to understand who they are, what drives them, what makes them want to be who they are. And through doing this, not only can I help them grow, I can help myself grow. We're together, we're able to accelerate into this golden age I see in our future.
And we need to embrace the spirit and the belief of community. And I would say reject individualism. And by individualism, I am talking about the idea that humans are meant to be self-reliant. That is, to me, the opposite of community. We want people to rely on one another. And the last thing I would say is it's super important to listen to one another. I said earlier that Africa is 70% youth. So those of us who are older than 30 should definitely listen to those younger, and those who are younger than 30 should definitely listen to those older than 30. I think that is one of the ways that we can definitely move forward, because we're in it together.